Did you know Neil Armstrong admittedly made a mistake on the first word spoken on the surface of the moon? What he said was, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. What he meant to say was one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. Do you think that those mistakes would have been made if he faked the moon landing? Do you think he would have made those mistakes with anxiety, plagued life, if he was in a studio in Las Vegas, Nevada, faking the moon landing? With so much skepticism surrounding the Apollo 11 mission, today I will persuade you that the moon landing was not only real, Apollo 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17, 6 total missions to the moon, 12 astronauts placing foot on the moon, but I will persuade you that it's one of the greatest achievements of mankind. This is important to you because misinformation spreads easily, and understanding historical truth is crucial in an era of increasing distrust in science. Today we will discuss why people believe the moon landing was fake, the impact of the moon landing conspiracy theory, and lastly, how we can combat the misinformation on the moon landing. So let's begin about discussing the causes behind the widespread belief that the moon landing was a conspiracy. The space race and Cold War tensions in the 1960s created pressure for the U.S. to appear technologically superior to the Soviet Union. Not only to the Soviet Union, but to all nations in the world, that we needed to look more technologically superior than all of the rest. Skeptics argue that NASA lacked the technology to safely land humans on the moon and return them to Earth in 1969, and that could be debated. Is there more computing power in your phone than the computing power for the computers on the lunar lander module that they land on the moon? Yes, but each computer on the limb was designed for a specific task. For example, one computer designed for elevation of the spacecraft relative to the moon's surface, and that's the only job it had. In an article where no flag has gone before, written by Ann Platoff in August of 1993, she discussed information about some discrepancies in the moon landing footage, such as the waving flag. The moon doesn't have an atmosphere, so flags shouldn't wave. Well, that discredits the fact that the flag itself had a perpendicular pole and to hold the flag up. So when the astronauts were moving the flag to place it in the moon's surface, it looked like it was waving, but really it was just their movements. Now that we've explored the reasons why people doubt the moon landing, let's examine the effects of the conspiracy. According to an article, To What Extent Do You Believe in the Conspiracy Theory that the Moon Landing Was Faked, written by Statista Research Department in August of 2024, only 5% of people polled strongly believe the moon landing was real. And on the contrary, 61% strongly disbelieve that it was real. The conspiracy theory has fueled countless books, documentaries, and online debates, making it one of the most persistent and controversial topics in history. And NASA and scientists continuously work to debunk these claims, yet public skepticism about space exploration remains a challenge. Despite what you think of the moon landing, we know that we saw eyewitness, you probably know someone who had the ability to see eyewitness testimony of the Saturn V rocket taking off from Earth. So at some point, it becomes easier to just go to the moon than to launch a Saturn V rocket into Earth's orbit for 3 or 4 days and return it. Now that we understand the impact of the moon landing conspiracy, we'll discuss possible solutions. In an article, Japanese Selene Lunar Mission Spots Apollo 15 Landing Site, author Ian O'Neill, written in July of 2008, shows picture evidence of the Apollo 15 moon landings from a Japanese spacecraft. Japan sent a spacecraft to orbit the moon and took pictures of the Apollo 15 moon landing site. At what point who are we trying to fake if Japan is in on the conspiracy also, right? Experts and educators should continue providing evidence such as moon rock analysis. We have moon rocks at NASA in America, and independent tracking of Apollo missions to reinforce the truth. And by engaging in open discussion, like we're doing now, and addressing doubts with scientific explanations, we can help dispel the misinformation. Now, let's wrap things up. With so much skepticism surrounding the Apollo 11 mission and 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17, today I hope that I persuaded you that the moon landing was not only real, but it was one of the greatest feats of mankind. Today we discussed why people believe it was faked, the impact of the moon landing conspiracy theory, and lastly, how we can combat misinformation on the moon landing. So next time someone presents you with evidence of a theory, maybe you'll do the research to prove them wrong, or maybe you'll prove them right. Thank you.
Got a question.